Well, hello and welcome back to Meraki Unboxed. My name's Simon Thompson, host of the show, and we have a very exciting episode for you today. We have brought together 3 of the AllStars from our Meraki community for a great discussion. I think it's going to be really fun today, talking about the community, talking about what they do, and talking about their experiences with Meraki as well. And so before we get into all of that on the show, I just want to remind you, Meraki Unboxed is a podcast. We started this back in June. We have quite a bunch of really good episodes now, and they've aged well as well. So none of this stuff is particularly time sensitive. I think if you want to learn more about Meraki, I would definitely encourage you to go back and listen to some of those earlier episodes of the podcast. By this time, we have content covering pretty much the whole portfolio and also talking to some very senior leaders here at the company. And we've got plenty more of that to come. We put these out every couple of weeks. So we'll be back with some more content. I think this is the last show of 2019. I can't believe I'm saying that already. But we have plenty lined up already for 2020, the new decade, as we go into that. So can't wait to bring that to you as well. Okay, let's get into the show today. And sitting in the room with me today is Meredith. Hi, Meredith. What do you do?
Hi, Simon. I manage the Meraki community. So I keep an eye on all of the posts, make sure people are getting answers to their questions.
That sounds like a lot of work. Does that keep you busy?
Relatively busy.
Relatively, yes. I think that's being very modest.
Yes.
Okay, and let's go around the room. So we have 3 guests from the community with us today, who are the sort of real sort of all-stars we described them as on the community. What is all-stars, Meredith?
So the Meraki Community All-Star is a high-ranking nomination. We created the program earlier this year as a way to recognize our supremely top contributors.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the top 10 out of over 30,000 community members.
Wow.
And they're contributing not just immensely, but also with very friendly and warm, patient tones in their responses. So we launched this program to kind of recognize and reward them, call them out as being super awesome and special.
I definitely heard some sniggering in amongst there. So that means that means we're going to get into some opinions fairly soon, folks. So let's go to our guests. They're all joining us online. So we have Jason, we have Philip, and we have Brecht joining us. Let's start with Jason. Jason, tell us where you're calling in from. What do you do, and what's your involvement with Meraki so far?
Sure, yeah. Hi, I'm Jason DaSilva. I'm a senior network architect with Shaw Communications in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. I'm part of our team that does the technology side of product development. And we have a managed service provider business offering primarily aimed at SMB, but also for the enterprise that's built on the Meraki platform. So the security product, the Wi-Fi product, and then the switching.
All right, and you're a major community contributor as well, of course.
I do post from time to time, yes.
Yeah, he's got over 1,400 posts.
Whoa, and we have badges on there, don't we? So he's got all the badges. I mean, how does that work?
Pretty much.
No, definitely not all of them. No, I'm not the most badge member, that's for sure.
Well, so let's see. Does that mean that's Philip instead? Philip's next. Philip, tell us about yourself. Please introduce yourself to the audience.
Yeah, I'm Philip. I work for a small Cisco partner in New Zealand. We call ourselves IFM. I'm being a small company, I pretty much do all jobs, but legally I'm a company director. And we just operate a traditional consultancy company. So we help people deploy their Meraki networks, design them, and install and operate them.
Awesome. And are you actually calling in from New Zealand right now?
I sure am. Yep, it's amazing where the internet goes.
Okay, so it's 10 o'clock in the morning in San Francisco where we're recording this. What time is it where you are?
7 a.m.
Okay.
Oh, but it's Wednesday for me. It might be. Is it Tuesday for you?
You're right. You're over the date line from where we are.
Yeah, we time travel here.
Magic. You get to see everything first. You get all of the unboxings of brand new Apple gear first, right? That's where the stores start selling the stuff first.
Yeah, we probably would have the first Apple store on the right side of the date line. Yes.
Nice. Okay, we'll come back to you for sure, Philip. Brecht, tell us about you.
Yeah, so my name's Brechtschamp. I live in a small city in Belgium called Ghent. My native language is Flemish, so excuse me on the forehand for all of the upcoming errors. I will likely also constantly mix British and American English because I just do that. Sorry. So my official title at the moment is Networking Solutions Architect, and I work for a company called NTT Limited.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be called Dimension Data, but we only recently changed names. And we became NTT Limited. We had been part of the NTT group for a while, but the name change for some reason kept waiting. I have about 40,000 colleagues worldwide in about 200 countries, so we're quite a large company. I think we're one of the largest Cisco partners as well. We're a system integrator basically for solutions ranging between networking, security, unified communications, data center, and so on. I'm part of the network pre-sales team, specialized in Cisco networking, and even more specialized in Cisco Meraki. So yeah, that's what I do basically.
And so, out of the three, who's the main, like, most all-star? Are we going to get competitive here?
Oh, I mean,
we don't want to embarrass anybody. Not so early in the show.
We do have stats, but yeah, everyone's friendly.
All
in their competition.
three.
All are equally important to us.
Absolutely, 100%.
We love all of our all-stars. Philip is probably the top contributor. He has over 6,300 posts in the community. And Brecht also is an amazing all-star, and he's contributed over 1,500 posts in the community.
Okay, so we really are talking about the top echelon here. And of course, it's all about quality.
Exactly.
Right?
Not just quantity.
Not just quantity.
We do have a running joke about Philip having a robot answering for him because his contributions there's so many. It's amazing.
It's on this call right now.
Oh, it's
Nice. So let's talk about the community a little bit. Meredith, tell us about how this thing got started, and so I'd love to hear then from you gentlemen about your own experiences, how you came to come across it.
Sure. So the community got started over 2 years ago now. We just celebrated our second birthday.
Congratulations.
Crawling into the terrible twos. And the goal was to create, just a peer-to-peer support forum for customers and partners to ask each other questions, as well as engage with Meraki content and employees. Kind of from this original mission evolved new opportunities for learning and engagement. So that includes the Learning Hub that we launched earlier this year, which provides Meraki trainings. And then over time, we're hoping to continue kind of creating this environment where someone can come in, with a technical question, but then discover 4 or 5 other things that are, going to help elevate their work or, improve their work in some way.
Mm-hmm. So what do you guys really love about the community? Just tell us how you use it.
Swag.
Swag? Yes, there's definitely swag on there, isn't there?
There's a fair amount of swag.
What kind of swag have we distributed? What? Let's go around and see who has what swag. Jason, what swag have you got?
How long is this podcast?
Yeah.
I through the community, I have more swag than I can shake a stick at. It's slightly ridiculous, to be honest. I have one of the fridges. I have the light box. I have a couple of the Legos. I have numerous T-shirts, mugs, pens, books.
Wow.
I have a phone soap.
I've never seen that. You have a phone soap?
Yeah.
I have a phone soap. Yeah.
We still have questions about them. It's like a tanning bed for your phone.
Yeah. Backpacks. I know I'm missing some.
So you could actually
Umbrella.
create a museum. At this
one of
point.
the wireless chargers for my phone.
You forgot the gnomes.
Yeah, you can't forget
Oh.
the gnomes.
Well, I only have one gnome. That's why I forget. I need more gnomes to remember.
And there's the cloud pin board.
Oh yes, the
And-
cloud
That's a
pin
new
board.
Yeah,
I have
the
an
They love
umbrellas.
their swag.
Yeah.
I'm
There's the
amazed.
USB cords.
USB cords,
Oh yeah, the Hydra, the
phone
charging.
chargers, two
is
different
amazing.
phone
It's just
chargers.
like
skateboards.
I didn't plan this as a complete run through of the catalog, but it's starting to sound like it.
Well,
I don't have a skateboard personally yet. That's still on my list. But
There's quite a lot of stickers as well and some wall art
a lot of
thingies.
stickers. I think they're probably the top collectors of.
It sounds
Meraki
like it.
Swag.
Yes, yes,
They're
I-
earning the
Socks?
most.
Oh, yes,
Meredith
don't
Let's
forget the
say
socks.
We're
Mustn't
your
forget the
test
socks.
audience for the swag, right?
We like to think of ourselves as sock innovators here at Meraki. In fact, we need a new design. I think it's time.
I think a community themed Meraki sock is probably in order.
It just makes sense at this point. Well, that's great. So if we do want to start a museum, we already have. If we want to know where all of the swag's gone, which sounds like we have the answer to that question. But of course, we do this for a reason. We're all in this industry. We're all networkers in some description, shape, or form. I think it'd be really interesting to just go around and have a listen. If you guys could just tell us a little bit about, the environment that you work in and the kind of sort of networking and IT challenges that you typically see in your environments, and how, certainly interested in Meraki and other technologies that you have deployed as well. How this has all helped you with the operation that you're in. So, Jason, kick us off.
Sure. So, like I kind of said in my intro, we use Meraki primarily for our MSP offering. So Shaw is a cable MSO. We've built our business on cable TV and then into cable internet after that. So the main focus of what we use the Meraki product line for is to provide Wi-Fi to small medium business.
Okay.
So we kind of package it up with our cable internet offering and or like a one-stop shop for small medium business to come get their internet, get their Wi-Fi, and we just kind of take care of it all for them. So it really lets small business owners get on with what they're good at, and we just provide them with the connectivity solution.
Does this include the actual the management part as well? Are you a managed service provider as well, or are you?
Yeah, absolutely. So
okay.
yeah, the Meraki products that we offer, we manage them on the customer's behalf. We give them dashboard access to, so it's more like a co-managed model. But yeah, we do all the management. So we've got our kind of cookie cutter based product with 3 SSIDs. We have the customer's private SSID. We offer them a guest SSID, and then we also have our own carrier public Wi-Fi that we put out there. It's called Shaw Go.
Right.
Yeah, so that's kind of it in a nutshell. And then we manage that at scale. So we have something like 60,000 APs in market right now.
Whoa. Okay.
So yeah, it's mostly in Western Canada, but it does span all of Canada where we offer these services.
And how big a team is looking after that many devices? That's huge.
Yes, well, there's a couple different layers there. So being a cable internet provider, we already have call centers, and then we also have a business side of things. So we do fiber internet offerings as well. So we have that kind of front line already. We have NOCs already. So those teams, there's certain areas within those teams that are responsible for that tier 1, tier 2 kind of thing.
Right.
And then my team is effectively tier 3 for all of this, for the Meraki side of things. And then we also do all the design architecture work. So my team is 7 people.
That's not insignificant. That's a really, that just shows the scale thing, and we talked about that, of course, plenty of times before. It's a big focus of ours to try to simplify so that we can help organizations in various different ways, and one of those definitely is what you're describing. I think, Jason, I think it sounds like it's a good model for you in terms of simplicity.
Yeah, absolutely. And and given the dashboard and cloud management, I don't think it would be as easy to do what we do without that kind of feature on the product. So, that really enables us to drive the scale that we do.
And are you using the APIs as well at that kind of scale at this point?
Yeah, absolutely. We do use it for provisioning. We could probably be better at that, but we do absolutely use it for provisioning, and then we use it a lot for reporting as well.
Cool. Let's hop over the date line. Philip.
We're dating now.
We've gone over the date line into New Zealand. Tell us about your world.
Okay. So probably a large chunk of our business is working with other Cisco partners and resellers. So we often provide a lot of back-end Cisco services to them. So maybe a Cisco partner might, or even just a pure reseller, they might sell a solution but maybe not have enough skills in-house, or maybe they have some skills in-house but maybe not enough to do more complex solutions. So that's a large chunk of our work base, working with other partners. We have the next biggest chunk, what you call self-managing customers. So customers that have their own IT teams and they prefer to look after things themselves. And we often do the design and work with the deployment with them, and then they'll do a lot of their own, and we give them some basic training, and then they'll do a lot of their own day-to-day tasks, and then they just come to us when they want to do moves, adds, changes, or complex changes, or they have complex faults they want to resolve. A lot of them have come from the Cisco enterprise world, and it's the simplicity of the dashboard that they've really taken on to, and they like that they can look at a lot of the faults or a lot of issues or diagnose things by themselves. It really is one of the key selling points for them.
So you give them the read-only access, that kind of thing?
No, we sell them the kit. They own the kit.
Right.
We make them dashboard administrators, and then we just help them on their day-to-day operations.
Okay.
I like playing with technologies quite a lot too. So I like playing with new solutions or changing things. So, like, for instance, I've been playing a lot with the MV cameras lately and their relatively new APIs, and then bolting them into other technologies to make them into more fully featured solutions.
So you like a bit of experimentation?
Love it.
And I guess it lends it. I mean, the cameras are such good fun to play with as well because it's so real. I think the sales team here definitely love them because they're so demo friendly. And you can always, I mean, we have some great stuff that we've pulled together with that we've shot on the cameras, and the APIs that we have associated with those as well. Okay, so that's definitely another take on things. Let's now hop. We really are like swooping around the globe here. So over to Brecht in Belgium.
Yeah, Belgium, the smallest country in Europe, I think.
Is it really?
Well, maybe no. It's not the smallest, probably.
It's Luxembourg, right?
It's yeah, right. It's one of the smaller ones, let's say.
Oh, Liechtenstein. As you can tell, I'm originally from the European continent myself.
You've got all the names.
I should know this stuff.
Then we could also mention the Vatican, right?
Oh yeah, you're right. Actually, that's true. That would be the smallest country in the world, I think, maybe.
There's Monaco. Isn't Monaco really small?
Oh, wow. So many small countries in Europe. We can all agree on that.
Europe being small on its own as well when compared to the rest of the world, I guess.
Right.
Anyway, so like I mentioned before, I'm a pre-sales guy. So I don't touch the hardware as much as our other guests do. My challenges are mainly related around defining an architecture for our clients that come to us with questions, or they come to us with a problem, we try to solve it. Meraki is just one of the things we do. Of course, we do other vendors and regular traditional Cisco as well. So for me, the challenge is often when, for example, a tender comes in, the challenge is often going away from checking the boxes and trying to push a solution that might fit the customer better, even though they don't realize it. Because obviously Meraki is a quite unique solution. So when you look at tenders, often the requirements are really not fit or written to what Meraki is like.
Mm-hmm.
So that is for me often the challenge.
What is the difference? Out of curiosity, how, in what way do they differ from calling out the strengths of the Meraki portfolio?
Well, so one thing that Meraki is always trying to do is increase simplicity, right? So that means that Meraki is probably not the solution that will have all bells and whistles and all of the most complex protocols available. Mm-hmm. While that's typically something that you would find in a tender, where they would ask support for a certain protocol or a certain number of sessions or whatever, all that kind of traditional stuff describing what solution is the solution you have to offer.
The speeds and the feeds.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that for me is the biggest challenge, I guess. On the other hand, just like Jason mentioned, we have clients of all sizes as well. We have smaller companies like small retailers. We have offices. We have production facilities. We even have government in Belgium, but also in Europe that are our clients. So that's also one of the challenges, basically scaling up and thinking at all scales when you're trying to think of the ideal solution.
And I'm curious about this thing about the typical, how should we describe it? The request for participation, the request for quotation, whatever you'd like to call that, the requests that come in from customers, like you say, often worded around a very traditional perspective on networking, which is, tell me what protocols it supports, tell me what kind of performance levels it has, tell me about the MTBF figure, the mean time before failure thing. So how do you take that? And I guess this is a question to any of you. How do you actually take the strengths of Meraki and apply them to a request like that that's phrased in a more traditional way?
In my opinion, once the tender comes in, you're basically already too late, because obviously the tender has been written with a different solution in mind. And one of the ways that I like to sell Meraki is basically by demoing it to the client. And once they see it, they understand what the principle is and what the advantage of the way of Meraki is. But once the tender comes in, often you don't have a chance anymore. Like, for example, a very, very basic example, let's say they have a requirement in there that you have to support SSH for simple security reasons, because obviously when you look at a traditional network and it would only support telnet to the configuration, that means your security is basically completely broken. Now, when I look at a Meraki switch or a Meraki MX, it doesn't have an SSH interface simply because it doesn't use it. It uses the dashboard for the configuration. So, that's a simple example of a problem that you can have when a tender comes in. So
it's really about getting ahead of that and having a conversation.
Yes.
And focusing on the outcomes, I guess.
Yes.
Okay.
Indeed.
And think about the strengths of Meraki then, and this is an open question, so anybody just jump in. What do you think of as the overwhelming strengths, the things you love about Meraki? Let's start with those really, really positive things.
It really is only one answer: dashboard.
Dashboard, absolutely.
That's the killer feature.
And tell me why you say that. I'm super happy to hear that, and of course I'm heavily biased. But why do you specifically call out the dashboard?
Because most products don't come, most solutions don't come with built-in management. Let me rephrase it. Don't come with a management solution that includes like monitoring, software management, configuration management, things like that. And the dashboard, when you demo it to a customer, what they see is what they get. There's no like extra bits to buy for a NetFlow collector or some other kind of management solution that monitors the data and produces reports. It's just what you see is what you get, and it's all in the package. It's all integrated together, and it works beautiful, and it's nice, and it's relatively quick to give people training on how to use it to extract information, and it's just nice and simple and easy.
I love it.
Yeah, I'll definitely echo that. I mean, the dashboard gives you that interface to networking equipment that is not really available anywhere else in the industry. Not like that, right? There's other solutions that give you a bolted-on experience, whereas with Meraki, it's that native built and right from scratch. That's how it operates, and it's really powerful when it's used correctly.
Yeah, and it's full stack as well. I mean, all of your equipment is in one dashboard. That's also something that's not easy to come by.
And what's so nice about to hear this, and it's like music to our ears. Meredith and I are smiling in here because it's great because we think that's the case. But I do know, and I came from that world as well. I was a network engineer many years ago, and I think what I find interesting is that so many engineers are focused on the boxes that they buy. They're so focused on the switches and the access points and the security boxes, and it's very interesting to me that you've called out the management experience first and foremost from that. Cool. Okay, let's move on. So I think one of the other interesting areas that I wanted to talk about a little bit was the kind of challenges that you see working with networks, or your customers are seeing working with networks. I imagine that many of them are still as they always have been, but I'm kind of curious. What are the things which really test your network and test your operational support of the network as well? Anybody want to take a stab at that one?
I would say in a Meraki world, it's all centers around access. So it might be wired access, might be wireless access, and a lot of the issues are to do with people accessing the network. Mm-hmm. And the dashboard is the go-to place to check that access. Like, are they attached to the Wi-Fi? Are they having issues with the Wi-Fi? Are they failing to authenticate? Are they failing to get an IP address? What's the connection to the switch? Show me the topology of the network, how the different bits connect together. We do have Insight as well that gives us, web application monitoring,
yes.
Which is like the step beyond the access. That's where, they can access everything except application X is performing badly or for some reason it's not working. But I'd say more it's around access to the network, the access layer.
Yeah, and it's very interesting. Those newer tools are of interest to me, definitely. So are you guys using things like Wireless Health and Meraki Insight actively, and how do you find those are helping you? I think, Philip, you probably just covered that for Insight at least. Any others?
Well, I use Wireless Health constantly. That is one of my favorite troubleshooting tools far and away. It's fantastic for Wi-Fi. Many times just a couple of clicks and you can see exactly what's going on. So that's easily my favorite. We don't use Insight in my position, in my job, so I can't comment on that. But Wireless Health is phenomenal.
Specifically with Wireless Health, what is it that you actually find it helpful for? I mean, I sit here in the kind of ivory tower at Meraki HQ imagining how it would be useful. I'm kind of curious about how you actually finding it helpful in your own world.
Most common, it's for those the Wi-Fi sucks issues.
Right.
And you get that common complaint where the Wi-Fi sucks, and with Wireless Health, it gives you a dashboard within a dashboard, so to speak, of the state of Wi-Fi. Between authentication, association, DNS, DHCP, like you see the most common problems that would be Wi-Fi related, and even a lot of those aren't necessarily Wi-Fi, right? Like DNS has got nothing to do with the Wi-Fi, but if DNS is misbehaving, it's going to lead to a poor experience, and then people will therefore complain about the Wi-Fi being bad. Uh-huh. So it covers more than just the Wi-Fi as well. You can see if there's things on the network that would affect people's experience using it.
Right.
I quite like Wireless Health for state of the world. So let's see, last used it 2 days ago. Customer complaining about not being able to connect to Wi-Fi. We have a look, and then we can see it's reporting mass authentication failures, and then that quickly led to figuring out that their Radius server hadn't rolled over its certificate correctly. So it gives us that high view state of the world, so we can see whether we got everyone affected, or a large majority of users affected, or one user affected. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's the dream for the product. So it's awesome to hear it being used that way. And I definitely remember, and it's so long. I think I say this on every episode. It's a bit embarrassing, but when I was an IT guy, and I remember so many times getting tickets coming into my queue saying the network's slow, and the amount of troubleshooting that I had to do to try and identify the actual root cause. That's I mean, it's kind of interesting to hear that that's still the same kind of challenge. But of course, a lot of the protocols haven't really changed all of that much in a very, very long time. So we're just making it, I guess, easier to get the visibility on there.
Hopefully the protocols don't change, nothing breaks.
Right.
One of the things that, so obviously I can't comment on the operations side of things, because obviously I'm not on that side of the job. But one of the things that interests me a lot is the webhooks APIs that allow basically to have the dashboard contact your let's say, for example, ServiceNow or ticket or any other ticketing system when there's an issue, and basically the work is done already before you. Let's say it's what Cisco is calling the self-driving network, right? So that's something I'm really looking forward to see that evolve further than it does today.
And speaking of evolving, that's another interesting question that I think we wanted to get onto today was like how are your individual roles evolving over time, and what are the kind of newer challenges that are coming to you from the business or from your customers that are really kind of stretching your way of working today. I'm really interested to just hear, in most cases the job is not the same year after year after year. There are some things which evolve and change, and I'm kind of curious about what that looks like, because of course you guys really are much more at the front line than I am in this day and age. So have a go at that one. So let's start with Philip. What do you think, Philip?
Well, if let's just roll back sort of 10 years. Like for us, we had like a fleet of cars, and a job would come in, and an engineer would go grab a car, go out to the customer, plug into a console port on something, do a bit of key tap pressing, come back, and he might be able to do maybe 4 tickets a day. So roll forward sort of 10 years now. Ticket comes in, we jump on the dashboard. Typically, it'll be done within 15 minutes, maybe 30 minutes. So now he's processing, the same engineer is now doing like 20 to 30 tickets a day. So just a tremendous jump forward in productivity. We only have 3 cars left in our fleet now because we just so rarely drive to actual customers.
Oh, wow.
So it's like far less capital intensive for us as well.
And presumably enables you to cover more, like a larger number of customers as well, if it's if you haven't got that time to spend.
Yeah, substantially so. It also means we need less staffing resource to cover them as well. And changes right now. So some of our earlier Meraki customers we started with sort of maybe 2, 3, 4 years ago. So they normally just get the Meraki gear in. Usually for us it's replacing Cisco Enterprise gear. And it's the ability that the network looks after itself in the dashboard. And they usually start with one technology, whether it be Wi-Fi, and then they come back and they'll get switching or security or things like that. And now we've sort of got a new wave starting to happen when our customers are now starting to wonder either wanting to harness information out of their networks more. So, for instance, they might be wanting to use APIs for guest portal, pull data into that, push it into a marketing company or some other, let's say, sales process automatically. Or with the MV cameras, wanting to pull out like using people detection and I'm going to have to use an acronym, sorry, MQTT, and I don't even know what it stands for.
Anybody else? Special prize?
Quick Google. No. All right, let's just call it's an IoT messaging. They using IoT messaging, and then processing those camera messages to then pull frames off the camera and then feed them into like other cloud services like Amazon AWS or number plate recognition systems to process that data and then push that data into something else for further analysis. So I'm really starting to I'm starting to see more data analysis style companies popping up as well that use the data coming out of the dashboard. So that's sort of the current transformation I'm starting to see through my Meraki customers that have had the system a little bit longer.
All right, definitely has changed quite substantially. Jason, world of service provider, how is that evolving for you?
Well, I think my world's changing very much the way Philip describes, but I'll be a little bit more generic about it. I spend a lot of time trying to change the narrative on how networking works and is operated. So I'm not directly customer facing, but I do support our sales team. So, trying to enable them with the language and the knowledge on working with their customers to move away from the traditional model of managing networking. The CLI is a traditional way of doing it. It is good or bad. however your position is there. I've made my career out of being a CLI junkie, so it is what it is. But that's not really the way of the future. Moving to controller-based managed solutions, which the dashboard is effectively a controller. API-based solutions, that automation orchestration pieces. These are all very big pieces of where networking is going, and working with some more traditional network engineers and guiding them towards the future is definitely one of my biggest challenges.
And that's, I think it's so interesting to hear you talking about the command line, and I'm still there, and we've been saying more or less the same thing for about a decade, I think, at this point. But I guess it's one of those things, exactly as you said, Jason. I think when you know it, then it can be a pretty fast way of implementing a lot of change in one particular go. But I think the challenge is just how broadly that technology is understood at this point, and whether it's something that newcomers into the industry still need to learn.
Yeah, well, I think traditionally the CLI has been tremendously faster than most traditional GUIs. I also have a fairly extensive Linux background, and working on the CLI in Linux is pretty much, basic knowledge. And you can do things on that CLI much faster than you can through a lot of the GUI tools that would be the equivalents. And network is much the same way. I've been very quick at doing CLI stuff in the Cisco world with iOS throughout the years. Yeah. But now, with automation and APIs, that makes the CLI much more slower and clunky. And when you take a look at the newer methods, the CLI is much more error prone. And it's, why would you just be sitting there banging away on the keyboard all day when you can have a script that'll do it for you, and you can move on with your life onto more important things?
Do you think that for the CLI junkie, do you think the ability to code and to leverage the APIs, do you think that there's something there by way of like an outlet for that enthusiasm, if you like?
Yeah, I think so. So one of the things I catch myself doing all the time, which I'm going to chalk into the bad habit category, is I'll just open a Python shell, import the Meraki modules, and then start using the Python shell as a CLI to the dashboard without actually writing a script. I'll just start typing in whatever code that I want to pull data or configure or whatever I need without actually creating a script. And I need to stop doing that, but I just find it comfortable, right? Because it's like a CLI. I can sit there on the keyboard and I can type Python code much the way I would type Bash code. So, CLIs are really nothing more than shell scripts or scripting languages themselves. So.
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely, and like you said, there's, for a network engineer, I think a lot of people who go into that kind of role, they have this interest anyway in some of these command line driven operating systems like Linux. So it's a sort of evolution, really, if you like.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jason, Brecht, on the service. Let's start again. Blah, blah, blah. On the pre-sales side of things, I need more coffee. On the pre-sales side of things, how do you find the conversation with customers has been sort of evolving over time? What's the same and what's changed?
Right. So personally, for me, the challenge that I have when I talk to customers these days is that they've been adding more and more devices to their network, right? We all know with the IoT world and oh yeah, there's a buzzword. Sorry. We all know it with the amount of participants in networks going up, we have to think about solutions to keep everything secure and also to try and optimize how the network works when these participants are there. So for me, the challenge basically is to keep up with these technologies. From a pre-sale standpoint, you always have to know all of the solutions, right? So like I mentioned earlier, I don't do only Meraki. I also do the Cisco traditional world, and so the challenge is often, which solution do I offer? Do I go for a traditional solution or do I go for the Meraki solution? And it's not always easy to make that decision on beforehand before you've talked to the customer. Obviously, you don't want to make that decision on beforehand, but then on the other hand, when you show both solutions, you run into the risk of confusing the customer, and he might say, okay, what solution do I need now? So that for me is the challenge when I talk to customers, and we're always thinking of new ways of using the networks to do other stuff, right? So what Philip mentioned earlier about the MVs to try and use them as a sensor, we do the same thing with the network. And regarding that, actually, only last week our company, so NTT, we launched our European Center of Innovation, or Client Innovation Center rather, and that's a center that we basically built to have conversations with customers to inspire them to build a solution, but together with us. So we're right there. We're going away from our traditional model of just trying to sell boxes and services on top of that. No, we're going further than that. We're actually trying to solve their questions, right? Solve their problems, and that's the challenge for pre-sales and for companies like ours, trying to keep being relevant, right?
Yeah, and I love that, because it is so much more than just the boxes and providing the basic connectivity. There's so much more to do. But of course, in many cases, customers don't wake up in the morning thinking, oh, I want to evolve my customer engagement experience, and how am I going to do that? And so I think we have a role to play with a bit of inspiring on that front. It sounds like that's exactly what you guys are trying to do there.
Yes.
Meredith, I think you had a few questions you wanted to ask about the community and how we use it themselves, how these guys are actually using it, because you actually interact with them all of the time through the keyboard, I'm guessing, most of the time.
Yes, that's correct. We interact pretty regularly, lots of chatter. Yeah, I guess, one of my questions is, you guys are all talking in the community all of the time. And so other than swag, there must be something in it for you. I guess, what keeps you coming back? What do you love about the community? How do you, get value out of the community for yourselves?
I'll start it off.
Oh, yeah.
Good man.
So I used to participate a lot on the Cisco Enterprise forums, these days community.cisco.com. And then we pretty much moved almost exclusively to Cisco Meraki these days. And then I'm sure it was some marketing email that came out that talked about the Meraki community being released or being developed. And I sort of joined maybe a couple of months after that happened. And that's when I started participating on it. One of the reasons sort of I personally use it is it's part of my social marketing campaign. So for people to know that people can't really come to you if they don't know you exist. So the question is, how do you bring in new customers? And so the first thing you got to start with is the customer has to know that you exist. And so one of the ways to do that is promote yourself as an expert in your field, so you can develop a unique selling point. And participating in the community is part of my social marketing campaign.
Interesting. So do you have people who you are associated or affiliated with who also hang out there as well? You're just essentially building your expertise by being there, I guess, and just by sharing stuff, helping others with questions they may have, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So you help you sort of, my premise is that you rather than sort of traditional marketing where you push yourself or your product out there. I sort of prefer the opposite approach where you give first, and so you give on the community, you help people out. Other people see that you're helping and participating, and then you always get the odd person reaching out, and maybe wants you to actually do a job for them or things like that, and then the business comes back to you. So that circle.
Okay. So anybody else? So the community, to Meredith's question about how the community has made a difference.
Yes.
Jason or Brecht, have a go.
Yeah, for me, the reason is actually much more selfish, which is a weird thing to say because we're helping people all the time on there. And the reason why I'm on the community and why I like it so much is basically because it allows me to keep in touch with the technology much more hands-on than I would be able to in my job as a pre-sales guy, right? So the community often brings up technical challenges, which I like to think about and which I like to solve. So for me, the community is basically a way to learn more about the problems our engineers will run into afterwards, and that allows me to anticipate on those problems and try to build the solution or the architecture around those problems. And also one of the jobs I have as a pre-sales guy, because obviously we do services as well, one of the things I have to do is estimate the time that an engineer will take to do a certain job. So also from that point of view, I want to know on beforehand what problems my engineer might run into. And that's basically what I use the community for.
And that's great to hear. And I think one of the questions I have top of mind right now is the Make-A-Wish box and the community, and how you relatively use those two things. Like, do all three of you make wishes still on a regular basis, or do you tend to think I'll just go and ping that in the community and see what happens?
Yeah, I wish for Konami all the time.
Yeah, I still
have
use
to explain that one.
You're gonna have to explain that one, Jason. Go ahead.
Well, no, I don't think so. I think people should just go wish for Konami and it'll explain itself.
There you go.
You might have to spell it out though, because maybe not everyone knows how to spell
Right.
it.
So yeah. So Konami is an old video game. Well, it's still a video game publisher. So Konami.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and go wish for them and see what you get.
Yes, definitely. That's a top tip because I think there are a few Easter eggs in the Make-A-Wish box, right?
There it is.
Yeah, there are.
It's not even the only one.
Maybe do it at the end of the day though.
Yeah, you'll never get back to work.
Yes.
But relative to the community, though, I mean, I think you are still making wishes as well as hunting out Easter eggs at the end of the working day. Are you finding that you get sort of good, healthy interaction on the community with both with other users and also with Meraki folk as well?
Yes, you get lots of Meraki employees. Lots of Meraki employees responding to different things. But on Make-A-Wish, I still use the Make-A-Wish on the dashboard. I figure the more places I promote an idea, the better the chance somebody might hear and see it and act on it. Quite a few beta programs are either offered or talked about on the community as well.
Yes,
and I quite like joining a lot of the beta programs as well, because that's one of my ways to help shape a new feature or shape a new feature before it hits full release, when there's less likely to be flexibility in the way it's might be changed in the future after that.
Mm-hmm. So it's a nice way to interact with others who are bold enough to take that step as well, going into the beta programs.
Yep.
I can tell I've been in the US for too long. I'm starting to say beta instead of beta.
It took me a few seconds to understand beta was beta.
Yes. It's just one of those. We have a very international crowd here today. Okay, so here's one of the things which is written down on this piece of paper in front of me. We did some notes for those of you who are listening. We have some notes here to help us with just what kind of topics we want to touch on. And somebody's written down here weirdest acronyms. We wanted to try and figure out what are the weirdest acronyms, and apparently they want to do that just to annoy me, because I spend all my time trying to make Meraki as much of an acronym-free zone as I possibly can. So, favorite weird acronyms, take it away.
We actually had one earlier, right? We had MQTT.
MQTT
Yeah,
is
we still
definitely
don't know
a
what it
contender.
means.
Well, I looked it up in the meantime, and I found out that actually the MQ is related to IBM MQ. I still don't know what the MQ stands for, but it's related to IBM MQ, which is some kind of middleware or something. And the TT stands for telemetry transport. Sorry.
I think
not even Wikipedia knows.
Right.
Yeah, indeed.
These folks really need some marketing help, don't they? Whoever came up with MQTT, they can't even explain it in technical language. What else have we got?
I think we need to change it to a full word on its own. I think Cisco's old APIC EM was a goodie as well.
Yes, I remember
which became DNA Center in its current life. That was a goodie. I don't know who came up with that baby.
Now, I think you get a special prize if you can actually remember what all those letters stood for. Application, I think.
Oh.
Application Programmable Interface Controller, Enterprise something or other. I don't remember what that one is.
Enterprise application, Cisco Application Policy Infrastructure Controller Enterprise Module.
Wow.
It's a catchy one.
I'm going to breathe. I'm going to take a breath before. I'm going to breathe in next time before I say that one.
Yeah.
I think they made a good move with DNA Center. That's a lot more palatable, right, for sure. Okay, enough acronyms. That's too much. Already too many. I'm already overwhelmed with acronyms at this point in time. What is the most... I'm just making this one up now. It's not on the piece of paper, folks. Curveball coming in. What is the most controversial, the most crazy topic that has come up on the community? And you're not allowed to say IPv6 or any connect.
Well, then never mind.
Those are our two. For those listening who are wondering what on earth I'm talking about, these do seem to be our most often requested from the network engineering community, overwhelmingly, features. So I'm not going to say any more about those, but there's work going on within the building on both. That's the only thing I can say.
Look at that. We got some roadmap talk after all.
I actually remember one of the posts on the community that got shut down because it was talking about a product that hadn't been launched yet. I don't know if you guys remember that one.
Is it launched now? So we can talk
about it?
about
I think it was the MV32, actually. I think it was a picture of the MV32, and I don't know where they got it, but afterwards it turned out to be a real product, and we weren't supposed to know about it back then. So if you come to the community like every day, then you always have the chance to find some things that you shouldn't be finding.
I think we'll really know.
That for incentive.
So it's like we've started our own rumor site now as well.
Yeah,
that's when you know you've made it. Is when there's actually a rumor site created for you. MerakiRumors.com. Maybe we should bag that before somebody else does.
I love this concept. Crowd marketed Meraki products. We just simply create enough noise about a product, then Meraki will have to create it.
There you go.
CMMP then.
Oh dear, we're going back there again. Okay, so I think it's time that we start bringing this to a conclusion. We've been chatting for over 50 minutes, which is the time just flies by when we do this. Guys, thank you so much for coming along. I really appreciate it. Any sort of words of wisdom for anybody who is getting into Meraki, like any little cheats and recommendations you would make? Jason, kick it off.
Well, I think definitely come to the community, and Meredith is not putting me up to that, despite what it may sound like.
Good job, buddy.
Because I think it is a really good resource to come and ask questions, and even just to read what is being talked about. There's a lot of questions and answers going on there. It's a good way to get familiar with the Meraki platform and what it can do, and even what some of the challenges are with it.
Mm-hmm. Philip, what do you think?
If you're an IT person and you don't actually have any Meraki kit, I think I'd tell you to go and head over to the webinars first, and that'll give you a little taste. Plus, you're almost certainly going to be able to find a webinar where you can score some free Meraki kit that Meraki will actually give you to keep, and just have a play with that. It's a no risk. It's like a no risk trial, but you get to keep the gear.
I guess many of us got our introduction to Meraki that way.
Exactly. Yeah, you get some free gear. You love it.
It's surprising, really, when you like whether it's free gear or swag. It always seems to be effective.
Yep, motivating.
Brett, what do you think?
Well, so apart from the things that were already said, I would say YouTube. I mean, you guys' YouTube channel is full of videos, both regarding the quarterly, which you do so nicely, Simon, but also more from a technical perspective. There's a lot of webinars that end with a demo, and if you really want to get a feel of what Meraki is, you should at least see the dashboard, and that's the way to do it without having to do a webinar on the an official one, and without having any kit of yourself. So you can have a look there. That's what you can do next if you've never done it.
Yeah, that's a nice way of just letting somebody else guide you through the process and what it looks like to be a day-to-day user on there.
Indeed. Cool.
Meredith, on the community, have we got anything coming up that to promote or talk about there?
For sure. Let's see, we've always got some sort of contests or challenges going on. So, whether it's a technical challenge where you have to, point out some things that are wrong with a certain configuration, or it's, simply sharing your insights about, the world of IT. We always have something going on with potential to win swag, of course.
There we go.
So coming up in December, we've got a couple contests going that you can keep your eye out for.
Nice. Awesome. Well, the community, of course, is full. Here we go. We've got 3 all-stars with us today, but really everybody who is on the Meraki community, they're all superstars because they're all contributing to the conversation. There we go.
True.
It's true. But these 3 gentlemen, obviously they're clearly, they've been identified as 3 of the sort of leading contributors on the community, and we're super grateful to each of you for not only spending the time today, but also for helping to feed that community, because of course that's how these things grow.
Yeah.
Fun
fact: their contributions comprise over 16% of all of the posts on the community in its entire history. Just these 3.
That's,
good job, y'all.
It's amazing what you can.
We need a life.
All right, I think maybe on that bombshell, we'll sort of wrap things up. Thank you so much for joining us on Meraki Unboxed today. We've really enjoyed this conversation. It's great fun to have guests in who are using the product and advocating for it and sort of exploring what it's capable of doing. That's really why we find sort of regular communication is so valuable, because the role of running a network really doesn't stay completely the same. It is something which is constantly evolving. There's always new features to learn and to understand the value of. And the community is definitely one of the places you can do that. So I've enjoyed this discussion because it's been fun just getting to know our 3 guests from the 3 different continents they joined us from today. And so we hope to do that. I think we should do it again next year.
Yes, excellent.
All right. Thank you again for listening to Meraki Unboxed. We should make a video as well. Let's do a video.
This is being filmed.
We'll make a film out of it. Actually, that does give me an opportunity to say that we've started putting these on YouTube as well. I know that might sound a little weird if you're subscribed on your podcast app on your phone, but some people actually do actually watch or listen to the podcast through YouTube and like that option. So we decided to start putting the shows up there as well. So if that's useful to know, there you go. And we will be back in a couple more weeks with another episode. We'll be in 2020 at that point, so bring it on. I hope you have a wonderful break over the holidays, whatever you are choosing to do, friends and family-wise, and we will be back to do it all again in 2020. Thank you again. Have a great day, and bye for now.
Bye.